from the outside, not being within the tourism industry, to what extent, given that every country has its own issues, Indonesia's issues are different from the United States issues, and yes, the overriding common link is the environment. But I wonder how centralized people who come to this conference, when you go away and go back to your own countries, what will you have learned from the conference? How centralized is the argument? How much broad agreement is there within the tourism industry about the challenges that lie ahead and the way forward? Renton, you seem to be a man who's quite an individual, to put it mildly, and also the wonderful idea of the carbon emissions and what Sri Lanka is trying to do about it. What do you think the common theme should be for people attending this conference and what they should come away with?
Well, I think the days when global warming, climate change was something that was nice to do, or like CSR, for example, you know, corporates talk about CSR, that's gone. It has to be a culture. It's a way of life. Today we got to, you know, internalize all of this. And we have to, I mean, it's like breathing. It's as, you know, we got to be breathing this. And that, I think, is very, very important. That's one message. The other is that, like the ocean is made of little droplets of water, I think we got to do our bit. You know, expecting nations and the organizations that lead nations, you know, like the UN, to do, you know, take on these initiatives, we all know that it takes time. And what we don't have today is time. It was different in the 70s, but it was the last decade that, I think it was Mr. Scott who said, the scientific evidence is clear. I mean, when we doubted, you know, like I said, you know, doomsday soothsayers, all that those days are gone. Today it's real. So we got to do something real about it. And I think individually we have, and today with the power of the internet, for example, in fact, those websites that we have, or rather the web addresses that we put on with the .travel, you know, initiative, it will take a week or so for it to come up. But at the same time, I also want to say, we are going to create not only websites, but blogs, where people can come and tell us where we are wrong, be critical of us. You know, and tell us, you know, you guys, you know, this is all a fad, you know, you're not doing it right on the ground. We want people to get involved with us, you know, because it's everybody's business. It's not only Sri Lanka's business. What we are doing is a tiny little bit. I mean, we can't even make a dent. What we do, we were not even on, you know, we will be nowhere in that list of countries that was put in this whole thing. But I think what we are doing is to tell the world that everyone matters, no matter how big, no matter how small. Thank you.
Leila, please.
If I could respond to that as well, the issue of time. The thing is that we have to build sustainable tourism. Otherwise, you know, we're in trouble in the longer term. And I keep saying that, look, you know, at the moment it's pretty haphazard because, you know, not enough people are involved in the development of sustainable tourism and using it for development, for improving destinations and the lives of people who live there. So just imagine, now it's the largest transfer of resources as we know, just imagine if the oil companies suddenly discovered tourism with their huge resources, with their control of energy. Just imagine. We are under time constraints. We have to move to ensure that the revenues of tourism are used to benefit communities and people who live there. Otherwise, somebody else is going to do it for us. And the media has a very important role here. Tourism should be taken out of the lifestyle sections and into the heart of the business pages and into the political pages, and it can be done. We have a Caribbean Media Exchange on sustainable tourism to actually engage the media and to get them to recognize the important part that they have to play in getting public opinion right about this, the most important resource that we're going to have. And don't forget, Exxon could buy every hotel on earth and still make a huge, still have lots of money to buy oil wells.
Kathy?
If I could build on that, I agree with you to a certain extent, but I also believe that it's extremely important that consumers hear the message from people like themselves, rather than big oil companies or big government entities. our company does a study on trust, and what we found is that people truly trust people like themselves. So particularly when it comes to tourism, I believe that people will listen to friends. That's who they listen to when it comes to a hotel recommendation or a destination recommendation. They're going to believe people like themselves when it comes to messaging about their effect on climate change and tourism as well. And just one other small point, I think the other important thing that we all have to work on is consistency of message. Because until we come through with that 1, 2, or 3 key messages that people will remember, because given the atmosphere that we live in today with thousands and thousands of messages coming at us every single moment, we have to remember that one thing. And I was struck today that the message that climate change is unequivocal kept coming across to me over and over again. And I think if we could come out of this conference with maybe 3 key messages that we always say in the communications business, but I think that will go a long way to helping consumers really understand the problem as well.